So today we are moving on to our last and final story of the Magic Treehouse. This is book number 12. You have survived 10 months with Jack and Annie. Our last book, so sad. It is Polar Bears Past Bedtime. Take a look at that front cover. What do you think this story is going to be about just by looking at the picture? What do you predict? Okay.
I think it's going to be about polar bears.
Do you think Jack and Annie are going to see a polar bear?
I think so.
That polar bear is really big. Any other predictions? Giovanni?
I think they're talking about. What do you predict? What do you predict?
I predict is
What do you think?
cold.
Yeah, it's going to be cold because there's some snow around. And take a look at what Jack and Annie are wearing. So we're going to read 2 chapters today, and we're going to focus, our reading strategy will be visualizing. So as we're reading, think about what Jack and Annie are seeing and what they're going through, and make sure that the words in the story are making pictures in your head. Magic Treehouse, book number 12, Polar Bears Past Bedtime. Are you serious? That's the name of chapter 1. Are you serious? Look at the picture. Jaden? I think he froze. All right, moving on. Whoo! The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The sound came again. Whoo! Jack sat up and turned on his light. He put on his glasses. Then he grabbed the flashlight from his table and shone it out the window. So this little owl woke Jack up and he got his flashlight to see. Yes, Jaden?
The owl was talking to Jack and Annie.
Yeah, the owl was saying, whoo, but we don't know what the owl is saying. A white snowy owl was sitting on a tree branch. Whoo, the owl said again. Its large yellow eyes looked right into Jack's eyes. So visualize that this white owl has yellow eyes and he is looking straight at Jack. What does he want? Jack wondered. Is he a sign like the rabbit and the gazelle? A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the Magic Treehouse for the last 2 adventures. Whoo! Wait a second, Jack said to the owl. I'll get Annie. Jack's sister, Annie, always seemed to know what birds and animals were saying. Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. Jack shook her head and she stirred. What? She said. Come to my room, whispered Jack. I think Morgan sent another sign. In a split second, Annie was out of bed. Do you think this owl is another sign from Morgan? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's a sign from Morgan the owl? Yes, I have 3 yeses. John Carlos is a sign from Morgan. Jaden? Okay, let's keep reading to find out. She hurried with Jack to his room. Jack led her to the window. The snowy owl was still there. Whoo, said the owl. Then he raised his white wings and took off into the night. He wants us to go to the woods, said Annie. That's what I thought, said Jack. Meet you downstairs after we get dressed. No. He says, go now, right now, said Annie. We'll have to wear our pajamas. I have to put my sneakers on, said Jack. Okay, I'll put mine on too. Meet you downstairs, said Annie. Do you think it's a good idea for Jack and Annie to go in their pajamas? Some thoughts? John Carlos, what are you thinking, John Carlos? Why not? What should
That's why it will be too cold.
They will be too cold. John Carlos knows they're going somewhere cold because he made a prediction based on the front cover. So he knows that it's going to be cold where they go. That was awesome. Jack put on his sneakers. He threw his notebook into his backpack. Then he grabbed his flashlight and tiptoed downstairs. Annie was waiting at the front door. They silently slipped out together. The night air was warm. Moths danced around the porch light. I feel weird, said Jack. I'm going back to put on some real clothes. You can't, said Annie. The owl said right now. She jumped off the porch and headed across their dark yard. Jack groaned. How did Annie know exactly what the owl said? He wondered. Still, he didn't want to be left behind, so he took off after her. And Annie is always doing something, and Jack has to follow her. The moon lit their way as they ran down their street. When they entered the Frog Creek woods, Jack turned on his flashlight. The beam of light showed shadows and swaying branches. Jack and Annie stepped between the trees. They stayed close together. Whoo! Jack jumped in fear. It's just a white owl, said Annie. He's somewhere nearby. Well, the woods are creepy, said Jack. Yeah, said Annie. In the dark, it doesn't even feel like our woods. Suddenly, the owl flapped nearby them. Yikes, said Annie. Jack shone his flashlight on the white bird as it rose into the sky. The owl landed on a tree branch right next to the magic tree house. And there was Morgan Le Fay, the enchantress librarian. Her long white hair gleamed in the beam of Jack's flashlight. So where did the owl take them? Where did the owl take Jack and Annie? Giovanni?
The cold? The cold?
Yes, outside into the cold. And where did they end up?
The ice age?
Not yet. Nope, not the Ice Age.
They're walking?
They were walking through the woods, and the owl landed on a tree branch right next to what?
Next to the treehouse?
Next to the treehouse. And who was in the treehouse waiting for them? Who was in the treehouse? Someone that has long, white, shiny hair. Okay.
Morgan.
Morgan Le Fay was waiting for them. So the owl led them right to Morgan. So everyone who gave me a thumbs up for the owl being a sign from Morgan, they were right. Hello, Morgan called softly in a soothing voice. Climb up. Jack used his flashlight to find the rope ladder. Then he and Annie climbed up into the treehouse. Morgan was holding 3 scrolls. Each one held the answer to an ancient riddle that Jack and Annie had already solved. You have journeyed to the ocean, the Wild West, and Africa to find the answer to these 3 riddles, said Morgan. Are you ready for another journey? Yes, Jack and Annie said together. Morgan pulled a 4th scroll from the folds of her robe. She handed it to Annie. After we solve this riddle, we will become master librarians? Asked Annie. And help you gather books through time and space? Said Jack. Almost, said Morgan. Before Jack could ask what she meant, Morgan pulled out a book and gave it to him. For your research, she said. Jack and Annie looked at the book's title, Adventure in the Arctic. Oh, wow, the Arctic, said Annie. The Arctic? Said Jack. He turned to Morgan. Are you serious? Indeed, I am, she said, and you must hurry up. I wish we could go there, said Annie, pointing at the cover. Wait a minute, we'll freeze to death, said Jack. Fear not, said Morgan, I am sending someone to meet you. The wind started to blow. Meet us? Who? Said Jack. Who? Said the snowy owl. Before Morgan could answer, the treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Who do you think Jack and Annie are going to meet? Morgan said, I'm sending someone to you. Don't worry. Who do you think is going to be there, Jaden?
The polar bear.
The polar bear. That's a great prediction because we saw the polar bear on the front cover. Remember I said we're reading chapter 2 today. 2, we're doubling up because it's our last week of schoolwork. We made it. Yay. All right, chapter 2. The howling. The air was crisp and cold. Jack and Annie shivered. They looked out the window at the dark gray sky. The treehouse was on the ground. There were no trees and no houses, only an endless field of ice and snow. Remember, the Arctic is too cold. There are no trees. So not even the treehouse is in the tree, it's on the floor. Morgan and the owl were gone. Read the riddle, said Annie, her teeth chattering. And I'm visualizing that. I'm seeing teeth chattering when you're so cold. Jack unrolled the scroll. He read, I cover what's real and hide what's true. But sometimes I bring out the courage in you. What am I? I better write that down, said Jack, shivering. He pulled out his notebook and copied the riddle. Then he opened the book. He found a picture of a barren white field. He read aloud. The Arctic tundra is a treeless plain. During the dark winter, it is covered with snow and ice. In early spring, snow falls, but the sky begins to get lighter. During the summer season, the snow and ice melt and the sun shines 24 hours a day. So that means the sun is up all day. It must be early spring now, said Jack. There's snow, but the sky is a little light. He turned the page. There was a picture of a man wearing a hooded coat with a fur trim. Look at this guy, said Jack. He showed Annie the picture. We need his coat, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. Listen to this. He read aloud. The seal hunter wears sealskin to protect him from icy winds. Before modern times, native people of the Arctic lived by hunting seals, caribou, polar bears, and whales. Jack took out his notebook and he wrote, The Arctic, seal hunters wear seal skin. He was too cold to write any more. He clutched his pack against his chest and blew on his fingers. He wished he were back home in his warm bed. Morgan said someone was coming to meet us, said Annie. If they don't come soon, well, we'll freeze to death, said Jack. It's getting darker and colder. Shh, listen, said Annie. A howling sound came from the distance, then more howling sounds, and more. What do you think that howling sound is? What's that howling sound that's getting louder and louder? Okay?
A wolf.
A wolf, maybe. Maybe a wolf.
Maybe a wolf or something.
Maybe. I know that the boys kind of went through a phase when every time it was time to line up, they decided they wanted to howl like wolves. It went on for a couple weeks, and it was weird because we didn't talk about wolves yet. Let's see. What do you think that is? Said Jack. They looked out the window. Snow was falling now. It was hard to see. The howling grew louder. It was mixed with yipping and yelping noises. Jack and Annie saw dark shapes coming through the snow. They seemed to be running toward the treehouse. Wolves? Said Annie. Great, that's all we need, said Jack. We're freezing, and now a pack of wolves is coming for us. Jack pulled Annie into the corner of the treehouse. They huddled close together. The howling got louder and louder. It sounded as if the wolves were circling the treehouse. They whined and yelped. Jack couldn't stand it any longer. He grabbed the Arctic book. Maybe this can help us, he said. He searched for a picture of the wolves. Oh, hi, Annie said. Jack looked up and caught his breath. A man was looking through the treehouse window, his face surrounded by fur. It was the seal hunter from the Arctic book. Who do you think that man is? And was that man making the wolf sounds, the howling sounds? I don't know. We won't find out until tomorrow. All right, let's think about, wow, that was a lot that happened. A lot of important things happened in those 2 chapters. So let's try to think about some key detail, at least one important thing that happened in the chapter, and that will end up being your message. So when you're ready to share, you can raise your hand. Giovanni?
Is Morgan before go to the treehouse? Then Morgan screamed, Jack and Annie, where do you going?
Okay, so Morgan was in the treehouse waiting for Jack and Annie, and she sent them on their last mission. So yep, that's important. Morgan's important. All right, Giovanni, you're free to go. I'll see you later.
That's a good message.
That's a great message. Jaden?
I learned about the
Jaden,
Jack. What?
we did not learn anything. We learned last week, but today we're reading about Jack and Annie. So what happened with Jack and Annie today?
Jack and Annie. The was about to leave from home, and then I don't know.
All right, that's fine. Keep thinking. Keep thinking. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
All right. John Carlos?
Logan was gonna send a friend to Jack and Annie.
There you go. All right. John Carlos, you can go and write. Okay.
Jack and Annie went to a cold place. They heard a howl.
There you go. That's beautiful. Yay. All
And
right.
Malelo,
Yes.
I got pretty new earrings.
Oh, that's so cute. Wow.
They're butterflies.
I love butterflies.
They're your favorite?
Yeah. Not my favorite, but they're cute.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, Mom.
Yeah.
No one's going to be into the school until Wednesday to hand out things next Wednesday.
Okay.
All right. So just let me know if you want me to like hold it or leave it at the school or just take it with me or if you can't make it.
Yeah. Well, I can't make it, but we'll figure something out.
All right.
Thank
Hold
you.
on.
She has to go, KK.
Happy.
Say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Alana.
Theo Hunter. What? Huh? Came to Jack and Annie tree house.
Love it. That's really good.
How many?
That was like 11, I think.
9. It's 9.
It's 9? Okay. All right, Alana, go ahead.
Not 9. Bye.
Bye, love. Jaden.
Um,
What happened in the story?
Jack and Annie needed one clothes.
Yeah, Jack and Annie needed warm clothes. Yep. They don't have warm clothes. They are in their pajamas in the freezing cold.
I told you.
All right, Jaden.
Bye, I love you.
Love you too.